Breaking down my shed project a little bit at a time on the weekends. Removing the old gate was a bit hard because it was really rusted in place. The back of the shed was quite protected, so these pieces of cedar siding were really difficult to pry off, and I had to use the pry bar. The product I'll be using, the LP Smart Siding panels, they're really going to help because they're made for a wet environment. And on the west coast of Canada, it rains pretty much all year, and it's really hard for anything to last. So it's a fiber cement panel product, and I think it'd be great for a shed. It's also good for like areas of high wind and seismic activity, and on the west coast we are in an earthquake zone, so hopefully this will help out. Having to work off a ladder for the peak was a bit tricky to be up high and prying, but it had to be done. I couldn't do it from standing on the ground. Every time my body bumped into the fence behind me, I realized that the fence post is rotten and that'll have to be replaced. And luckily this year there weren't any wasps hiding in the shed. I ran into that problem last year when I did the metal roofing. And the drop sheet just helped a bit to remove the debris, and that'll be cut up for kindling. And then here was a problem to solve. I did not make this shed. I'm only redoing it. And yeah, I had to put in a center post. So a little bit more work added onto the project. I don't like using the power tools, so I don't video myself doing that part. I just need to really focus on cutting wood when I'm cutting. Safety first. And now that I have that center stud, the 4-foot panels can be nailed in place. So when you're doing your last peak, you just have to make sure it overlaps and that you're using your adhesive. And you have to make sure the lines line up. And then later on, there is like a little seam from the top to the bottom piece, and you'll just cover that with trim in the future. This took a long time, the 2 top peaks. I really had to stop and think. And I only had to redo this little bit once. And then the second triangle was much easier. And I did get that piece put on this weekend. And by the end of the day, I could barely hold the hammer and nail. I'm just not used to this type of physical labor, so it was quite funny. The end. Until another weekend.